was really praying for Stephanie because now she has to put up with you for the rest of your life.
Oh,
So
the rest of that was insulting in two ways.
welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and a Bible. If you like the idea of a casual yet meaningful chat about the Bible with a couple of buddies, listen in. Something here could be good.
Today is day 199, covering Proverbs 16, 17 and 18. If you need a brief overview of those chapters, they're in the description. Sweet. Well, me to go first. I have to say, I've never been one to fidget with things. I know you have your trusty spinner and all kinds of fidgety things, but since being married, I fidget with the ring all the time.
Yeah.
Just constantly, just like playing with that. Yeah, so there you go. That's my interesting life, part 712.
Fascinating.
Yeah, right. Let's go on to something actually fascinating. Proverbs 16:2. All a person's ways seem pure to them, but motives are weighed by the Lord. So just remember, you might think something's right, but you aren't the ultimate creator and justice of the world, right? Or the universe. But having said that, Holy Spirit, I think, does help us weigh things better than we could have before. I know that I've definitely become more convicted of my sins and more kind of also convicted to do good since becoming a Christian. And obviously it's easy for me to see that because I was not Christian till I was 30. So I got a really good sense of what it was like to not be a Christian.
Yeah. And you are that epitome of a good person that it's the kind of like, you were kind to people, you were honest, you were X, Y, and Z. There are some people in life that you're like, that person is too nice to not be a Christian. That makes sense. Like there are a few people that you're like, how is that person not a Christian already? They take out the earthly foibles such as drinks and sex. It's like, it's a good human.
But that's the whole thing, right? Like even just that makes me not that good of a human, I suppose, like because I'm doing things that are against God's plan and God's design of us. But I totally see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And even just thinking about that previous version of me versus now, certainly still plenty to work on, trust me. But like I can see the difference and I can see the path that God has me on, which is really cool.
Yeah, bro. It's cool. I had an appointment today, like an hour's ride away. I took the bike in, and I told you before, I love just praying and worshiping when I'm on the bike because there's nothing else to do. So I was praying for you and Stephanie and like the difference that I've seen in like the journey. And then I was really praying for Stephanie because now she has to put up with you for the rest of your life. So the rest of,
I love that was insulting in two ways. She has to put up with you for the rest of your life. So and also you're going to die first. I love that.
Statistically, you're older and you're male, and I've lived with you. I haven't lived with you, but I've put up with you for 30 years, and I know that there are trying moments.
It's time to die. Yeah.
Anyone, but it's all good.
No, I really enjoyed that, is what I was saying. That was a very good insult.
It was designed to be an insult.
I enjoyed it.
Anyway, we've just killed a bit of extra time. So my first point of today is Proverbs 16, verse 3, which if you remember when I was chatting from Proverbs 6:6, which was go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise, that my Nana wrote in my baptism card. This is the verse that she meant to write, which is commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. And this is another one of those classic, this can be read as like, well, okay, as long as you're like, okay, God, I'm doing this for you. It's got to work now. It's like, no, as long as you're in line with God's thinking and God's plans, he will establish them because they're already his plans. But like, we need to consult God on those things, big and small, go to him with them and he will establish them. Like if they're in his plan, he will establish them. It's a bit of a cop-out answer, really. But also that's kind of the dealio, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that. I love the sluggard thing. I love the fact this is what she meant to say. I love that whole family story. We've both got 16:6. For me, I put the verse says, through love and faithfulness, sin is atoned for. Through the fear of the Lord, evil is avoided. The bit that I was particularly focused on was, I guess, 16:6a, love and faithfulness, sin is atoned for. And I just said, again, this points to Jesus, right? There's been a lot of Jesus being pointed to in the Psalms. Now I'm seeing quite a bit of it in Proverbs. And this bit here for me was a big one. Like the perfect love, the perfect faithfulness comes down and saves us. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
That's cool, man. My only thought on it was more of a question, really, which was along the lines of the sin being atoned for. Our sin is atoned for through Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. So when it's saying it's been atoned for through love and faithfulness, is it referring to Jesus's love and faithfulness to die on the cross for us, or through our love and faithfulness to him for doing that and accepting him? But accepting him and loving and faithful is kind of above our pay,
yeah. Right. You're right. You're actually the more I think about what you're saying, the more I think you're right. Like, there's nothing we can do to be saved, right? But ultimately, what leads us to being saved is our love of Jesus and our faithfulness to want to follow him, I suppose. But as you say, it's reciprocal. Ultimately, it's his faith and love to us originally. For, this is written Old Testament, obviously, so it could even be more talking about the Father. The fact that it's through his love and faithfulness that he accepts the animal sacrifices and things like that.
Yeah.
So what the sweat slaking. So it's all of it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's also above our pay grade and below our pay grade at the same time, and magnanimous.
Yeah.
So let's go into. Oh, I'm sorry, you got another one from.
Yeah. 16. So 1625 is there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end leads to death. And I just said it kind of speaks to itself, really. Just this whole not everything as it is as it seems. Like, again, you can kind of refer to people that seem to be living very good, upright lives. They're not screwing people over. They're faithful in their marriage. They're giving to the poor. But the reality is they haven't given their lives to Jesus. And so ways that appear to be right, but in the end still could lead to death. Just that's the kind of dealio with that one, I think.
100%. That's really good, man. That's the first. That's good. Wait, I need to. There we go.
You've lost.
I got to set my camera up in its original position soon. I've just been a sluggard. Anyway, a wicked person listens to deceitful lips. A liar pays attention to a destructive tongue. Proverbs 17 verse 4. So many people in this world and this culture listen to liars because liars can tell you whatever you want to hear. And in the world that we live in, a lot of the time, truth is just chucked over the fence for a lie that just makes someone feel more comfortable. And a great example within the church of that is prosperity gospel, right? So many people preaching that in pulpits, but that's wickedness. It's not real.
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird. I feel like we've gone so heavy down the anti-prosperity gospel side of things. Like, I've only ever been in a couple of churches throughout my entire life that have preached what I would consider a prosperity gospel. One of them was so blatant, it was outrageous, in Africa. But it's like, I feel like there isn't that much prosperity gospel out there, but it's also can be in so many different scales that,
I think the other thing is, because we got some more points to make on this or whatever, I think some of the big preachers, celebrity preachers, at least in the States, have huge audiences. So even though there are only a few people preaching it, they have audiences of millions in some cases. So that's, anyway, yeah.
That's cool. My first point on 17 was children's children are a crown to the aged and their parents are a pride of their children. This is another verse from my nana. And it's just one of those like nice feel-good verses that she likes to say to people. But the thing is, I realized when I was reading it and noting it down, like, it's incredible, like, how her faith has impacted me just through being obedient and giving verses here and there. And it's such simple things that actually can have a huge impact.
Right.
Like, the fact that she shared that with me a few times here and there, enough that I eventually noted it down in my Bible, and now it's appearing on a Christian podcast. Like, she would never thought those steps would have led to that kind of thing, but just be faithful in being like, just giving people verses, and those little tiny things can actually have huge ramifications.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. I completely agree. You got one more bold in 17. I got a bold in 18, so I guess we'll have to do that.
Right, so yeah, 17, 27 and 28. Those who have knowledge use words with restraint, and those who have understanding are even tempered. Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues. And it's just, there's such wisdom in that. Society, I think, always teaches us we need to speak up, we need to speak our mind, we need to tell people what we really think. Like, you should always have an opinion, but actually it's like kind of not really. Like, we just need to choose our words carefully and understand that being silent in a situation is okay and often is good, because we the more I chat, the more I sound like a fool. So sometimes I just sit here quietly and go,
then you look really learned and wise.
very wise.
Now, something one of my friends told me recently I thought was really cool. It's like in this world now, everyone's trying to have a platform, everyone's trying to voice their opinion, everyone's trying to be heard, and no one's trying to listen. So I think that that's absolutely true.
Yep.
18 verse 12, I had a couple from 17, maybe we'll roll them over, maybe we won't. Before a downfall the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor. I thought that was a cool one, like obedience over sacrifice, humility comes before honor.
Yeah.
So it's better to seek humility than seek honor. And I just said, me personally, I'm bad at this. I often, I guess, seek honor in the things I do, but I rarely seek humility, which is something I've got to work on. So there you go. Well, that's it for today's readings. Please tune in tomorrow, and we're going to be going through Proverbs 19, 20 and 21.
In the meantime, please consider liking and subscribing at Two Brits and a Bible to help spread the word of God. But before I'm done, I have a non-point, but purely because I want to make a habit of it now. Every time there is a verse in Proverbs that references a wife, I feel like I need to say it to you. So he who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. 18:22. Sweet.
Love that.
Take it easy, folks. See you tomorrow.